make an attempt to say a few things. And some of them I will make up. And I will hope that the Lord will guide me to say the right thing. We attended the same church many years ago. And we've stayed in contact all those years, and that's over 20, maybe 30 years ago. He's a brother. He's a man of God. He's stayed engaged in ministry. He's a counselor. Elder Hughes likes to say the two of them were together in RCA in New York. I don't know if they were there at the same time, but they always speak about their physics instructor. He's retired. He's no stranger to me and many here. He has a message from the Lord. I want to thank him for coming. And I see his daughters here with him. I want to thank you all for being here. He's been a friend for many years. So indeed I know him. I know him. And he's always been honorable. And I thank him for maintaining that. It's the greatest honor that any of us can have. So when Pastor told me that, Elder, you have to introduce him because it's the first time I'm seeing him. He has never disappointed me. I don't think he's about to disappoint you either. He has a message for you from the Lord. I ask that you give him your undivided attention as he shares with us the message given to him from the Lord today. The Barrow. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to be here. And thank you again, Pastor, and the leaders of the church for inviting me again. Thank you all very much. And I pray that you all will be blessed as we talk today a little bit about relationships in particular. I decided to do the discussion on relationships because I realized there are a few married folks, and then there are so many that are not married, whether they are young, trying to get married, trying to date, trying to do whatever it is, and there are older ones who probably are looking to get married or probably was married before, anything of that nature. So I don't want to just talk about marriage because I'd be leaving a lot of people out. So I want to just talk a little bit more about relationships, and towards the end, you are free to ask whatever questions you want to ask so we get a better, clearer understanding. But by the way, I heard you all talk about birthdays. And, but not one person said anything about my birthday. Nobody? Pam? Thank you. You know, we got it. Yes. Yes. Her birthday is tomorrow, and my birthday is tomorrow also. Yes. So, just in case you want to know the best month in the year, that's all right. That's okay. But that's the best month, whichever that one that is. All right. But again, thanks again. And I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's a little different. I don't want to talk about the regular stuff that we talk about when it comes to relationships. Everywhere we go, we hear the same thing over and over. And today, I want to talk about something different. I asked the Lord about this throughout the week, and he gave me something, and I want to talk a little bit about that today. So I entitled the little discussion, Exposure, being, doing. Exposure, being, doing. Okay? Not exposure, being, but exposure, being, doing. All right. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today. You know, and I want to start off with the children of Israel just for a minute. Because we're not talking about them so much, even though they had a relationship with the Lord, and that had a major problem going on there. But I'm going to talk about that just for a minute to show you what exposure I'm talking about. You see, they came from Egypt. And every time something went wrong, they wanted to go back where? To Egypt. Why? It was familiar. Anything else? They were comfortable with Egypt. All right? They knew what to expect. Yes. When there was no meat, they complained. When there was no water, they complained. For all of their life, they were exposed to Egypt. Everything they knew was about Egypt. And so that's where they wanted to go back. Even though they were slaves. Even though they were beaten. Even though they were worked like horses. They wanted to go right back to Egypt. As a matter of fact, they even wanted to choose another leader other than Moses. You see how dangerous exposure is? Or how good exposure is? Not only dangerous, it's also very good. All right? We also told that people who travel a lot, they think differently. You know, sometimes you go back home, wherever home is in the Caribbean or wherever it is, and the way they're thinking, you ask yourself the question, wait a minute, did I think like that too? But because you travel, you meet so many people, you are exposed to so much that you start thinking differently. Not necessarily better than anybody, but you start thinking differently. And so let me start off by saying it this way. Every decision or choice, whichever one you want to say, that I make, that you make, end up making you. That's the first thing we need to understand. Every decision or choice that I make ends up making me. So in other words, I am the sum total of all the decisions or choices that I have made. And I really want our young people to get this too. Oh, and those who are married, that's why you did what you did. Those decisions and choices you made had brought you there too. And for young people, I want you to realize that also. Because you are making decisions and choices that will get you where probably your parents are, but probably a different way. So you need to know that also. Now, the thing that's important here is to remember this. Every battle we fight out there in life has to be the choices and so on that we make. Every battle we fight out there is a mind battle. What do I mean by that? I'm saying that every battle you come across, every decision you have to make, every choice you have to make is a battle you are fighting. And you have to think about what you're going to do. So every life battle is a mind battle. It starts here before you can get out here. So every life battle is a mind battle. But here is the thing about that. If you win in the mind, you win in life. But if you lose in the mind, you lose in life. And that's important to get and to understand. And the reason why that is so important, I like to do a lot of quotes, but I type some things up, and it's so small, I got to put something on. No, I could read all the big stuff, but the small stuff, tiny stuff, brother, I got to put something on. You know the strange thing? See these glasses? I had these, 20 years? Don't laugh at me. I probably can let some of you walk with. No, seriously, I did about 20 years. And I went and I had a cataract removed. And when the cataract was removed, I was wondering if I was living in the same world. I started seeing clearly. I still don't read fine prints that well. But that's the reason why I kept them, because I don't have to go buy another one. Praise the Lord. All right. All right. Why then is exposure so important? Well, here is why exposure is so important. The mind will think most about what it is most exposed to. You remember that? The mind will think most about what it is most exposed to. So the more you expose your mind to certain things, and that's why people have so much problems dealing with life itself. Because what they are exposed to makes a big difference in how they react and respond in life. And you wonder at times why you do certain things. And we don't look back, and that's what I want us to do here. We're talking about relationships. I want us to look back in our life and see what we did, what we were exposed to, and then look forward where we are now and determine why. Oh, now I see why I do this or I do this. Now I see why my wife does it the way she does. Now I see why because it's all about your exposure. Every single thing that we do in life has to do with our exposure. Every decision we make has to do with our exposure. And that's why you can't try to get someone to do things the way exactly that you do it. You know how we are told some men used to say, I don't know if they still say it, this food is not cooked like how my mother used to cook it. Well, now if I were the wife, I would have said, well, you need to go back by the mother unless she cook for you. I'll cook for me and the kids. And you're going to go back and let mother cook for you. Because of the exposure. But that's just one little area, which may not get us into trouble. But we have to always remember that whatever, I was looking the other day on the internet. I'm not going to get through with this anyhow, but I'm going to take questions. I was looking the other day on the internet because I was trying to make a roast bake, okay? I know some of you think he can't cook, but yes, I can cook. Just started, but I can cook. I wanted to make a roast bake, and I was going to put roast bake with coconut, you know. I went back home. So I said, let me make sure I have all the right ingredients. We're talking about exposure. And so when I got the ingredients, I mixed everything, and then I put it in the pan to put it in the oven. But before I did that, I looked to see what the person, the video, was saying. And the lady said, well, you take a fork, and you just put some little, And she's saying, and I'm just saying, well, why she's putting that? Because to me, that doesn't make any sense. But she said, well, you know, my grandmother and my mother told me, I asked them why I do with the fork. They tell me it's so the bake won't rise too much. But she said, you know what? I don't think it's that. I just think it's for decoration. So what did I do? I put the same thing on it. And you ask me why I did that. And if I pass that down to my kids, exposure again, we have no idea why we do it. We just do it because that's what we were exposed to. My daughter was telling me, Ayana was telling me, when mom cooked chicken, she'd always, and she's about to eat it, whether it's a leg or whatever it is, she'd always see a line in it, a cut in it. On probably two sides, a cut. This is the leg, a cut and a cut. And she didn't understand why mom will cut the chicken. Because when she goes to other people, there is no cut on the chicken. And she's asking me why. And we talked about it, and I said, that's for the seasoning to get in. That's how we see it, exposure. And when I cook chicken, I cut it too because I saw my wife do that. So that the seasoning could get in. And then not only that, I put it in the fridge overnight so the seasoning could soak in. Some people season and cook right away. Exposure. Everything in life that we do has to do with exposure. I was telling them, their mother-daughter in Dallas. When I talked to her, she was asking me, what you doing? I said, Dad, I'm going to talk at Bethel. And she said, what are you talking about? And I told her, I talked about exposure and everything. She said, no, Dad, that ain't true. Everything is not about exposure. She said, Dad, because I know guys that I have dated a guy who had a father and a mother and was good, and he was the worst guy out. And then I met someone who had no father, didn't grow up with a father, but was a very nice guy. And I said to her, exposure. She said, Dad, but that, I said, exposure. Not because you have a good father means you will end up with good exposure, because you may get it there, but where else are you getting exposure? And which one are you taking in? So after discussion for about 5-10 minutes with her, then she said, oh, Dad, I now see what you're talking about. I said, so be careful. Not because you have a father means it is supposed to have good exposure. So you have to always remember that life is like that. We go different places, and our exposure is not just from one thing. So you have to remember that. Now, let me say this. Have you ever asked yourself the question, have you ever asked yourself the question, did I really do that? Or did your parents ask you, how could you do something like that? Again, your exposure. You surprise yourself that you did that. Or you surprise them that you did that. Whether husband and wife, parents, or yourself. Again, it comes down to exposure. And sometimes we don't even realize that we have been exposed until something comes up and our behavior demonstrates it. So where does exposure come from? Talk to me. Anything, anybody. Where do you have exposure? Where do you get exposure? Anybody? At work, you said? Okay. Your peers? Anybody else? Parents, social media, teachers, entertainment, church, friends, books you read, conversations you have, all of those things bring exposure. So therefore, even though you have a good father and a good mother, television, the iPhone, the iPad. You know, when I was growing up, I was telling somebody, when I got married, somewhere in 70, oh Lord help me now. When I got married in 76, you know, there was no iPhone. We had, and then after it came, today we have everything at our disposal, and exposure is so important. We have to look and be careful what we are being exposed to, because it shapes us. Remember, the mind will think most about what it is most exposed to. You have to remember that. So exposure comes from all those areas. All. So I asked you the question, in what environment are you living? What's the environment in which you live? Because your exposure is telling you the environment in which you are living. The things you're exposing yourself to, or the things that are there that you see. You know, we can't help see things, you know. We're driving on the freeway, you see all the signs. You're exposed to them. You look at television, you see all the advertisements. You see all the movies. They're all there to get your attention and to get the children's attention. When McDonald's had the what you call it, the child, what do you call it? Where they had the toy in the child. Okay, good. I was so shocked to hear on the news. Parents were complaining because every time the child passed McDonald's, the child wants to go get a toy. So the parents have to go buy the food. And the parents were saying, McDonald's need to stop having the toys. When it shouldn't, in fact, the parents need to control that. But that's, again, exposure. And it affects us whether we are a little child or grown folk. All right? So remember that. The mind also, because I asked the environment in which you are, the mind will reflect the environment in which you place it. It will reflect the environment in which you place it. As a matter of fact, it will absorb and then reflect it. I'm coming to a point in a minute. It's like monkey see, monkey do, right? This is where I am, and I'm living in this. Remember the children of Israel 400 years, living in that? That's all they could see. That's all they know. And that's what they absorbed, and that's what they reflected. A statement for you to think about, or question. Take a look at the relationships you're having. The younger people, those of you who are dating, try to determine, why am I dating that kind of guy or that kind of girl? Think about that for a moment. And then for us who are married, or for you who are married, I should say, think about why we have the little differences and why we talk about it or argue about it or discuss different things. That I'm kind of different from him and he's different from me, and we are going at it with each other about certain things. And I don't like certain things that he does, or I don't like certain things that she does, or how she talks, or how he talks. Just think about that for a moment. Think about why you believe you have to have a man or you have to have a woman. Think about that for a moment. Yeah, because it's all about the exposure that you had. Because everything you did from way back then, as I said, had brought you to where you are today. And everything that you learned and grew up with has caused you to think the way you are thinking now. So I'm going to ask you the question. Let's get down to the relationships. When it comes to relationships, what have you been exposed to? And we're going to talk about that. What have you been exposed to? Because I realize we're not going to have too much time, so I'm going to go straight into questions. Instead of answering them, let's talk about them. When it comes to relationships, what have you been exposed to? Anyone? What have you been exposed to? Huh? I don't want to call any names. You have been exposed to love? Okay, all right. Anybody else? Huh? Valentine's Day? Uh-huh. That's Eli. He said when it comes to relationship, that's what he knows. Because he's even seen it in his house probably. He's exposed to Valentine's Day and how they behave. All right, very good. Anyone else? What have you been exposed to? Yes. Okay, so you've been exposed to parents and movies. All right. When it comes to relationship, yes. Commitment. You have been exposed to commitment. All right. I didn't hear you. Sacrificing. All right, very good. So when it comes to relationship, in order for your relationship to succeed, there are some things that you need to know. And how have you been exposed to these things? Some say in the home. Some say with the movies. And it's the same thing we just read we talked a while ago. The books you read, the conversations you have, the places you go, the seminars you attended, all of those things determine the exposure that you have had. Now, here's another question. We said in the home, but a lot of times as guys, we're exposed where? Friends, so what you call that? on the street, right? I know, I know Brother Wallace has been in the Army or the Navy. Army. Let me get it right. I want to make sure. Army. What were you exposed to there? I'm gonna just pick on you for a minute. Like, give me a brief thing. What did they talk about there? Or what did you see? A lot of good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. All right. And that's the beauty about it. It goes both ways. Now, the question is, which one are you picking up? Because the exposure is always going to be there. But it's determined by what you choose. And what will determine what you choose? The exposure you had before. I want you to get that. Yes, mm-hmm. Okay. So that has given you some exposure about the world. All right? Now let me, okay. So even in that area, you find meaning. Uh, but what I said something a while ago, let me pick up on that again. He saw dedication, he saw commitment. Now, what does that mean? Now, when do you translate that? Could you translate that into relationships? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, yes. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Praise the Lord. Mm-hmm. Praise the Lord. All right. Okay. Then those who are married. Let me come to those who are married for a minute here. Okay. Before you were married, what told you that your exposure made you ready for marriage? Mm. What told you that you were ready for marriage before you got married? Because let me tell you something. I know most of us can look at that and say, well, I never thought about that. Because I never thought about that. I never thought about that. And I tell people, I don't hide it, I tell people, hey, after I got married, or Eli, you're not married yet, but you want to get married? Your mom is married. His mom is married. Praise the Lord, brother. Very good. Thank you. All right. All right. Your mom and dad, right? Yes, very good. Very good. Because I didn't know about marriage. I don't even know if I was ready for marriage when I got married. And when I think about it today, I said to myself, I don't even know if I was ready when I got married still. Because I still don't know. Seriously, I said, because lady thing. As I said, I told somebody, we went on a honeymoon, went to the Poconos, we had a good time for a week, and we came back. Some guy gave us a ride back, and we came back, and we got to the apartment. We were in New York, that's where we live. We got to the apartment, we opened the door, we put our luggage down, we got to the living room, we stood up, we looked at each other, and just burst out crying. What do we do now? I am dead. See, what do we do now? I had no idea what to do. And we just cried. Two grown folk, well, we know 20s, but two grown folks crying, and no one can help the other one. That's why I don't know if I don't know why I think I was ready. I guess my wife said she wanted to get married, so I said, okay. No, I don't know if she knew why she was ready, but then I asked her the other day, before all this happened, I asked her, will you marry me? Folks, and I tell ladies, especially in premarital counseling, do not marry a guy if you don't have a job. But I didn't have a job. And I asked my wife the other day, why did you marry me? I didn't have a job, I have nothing. She said, this was the most comforting words you could ever hear. I saw potential. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Potential. And my daughter there said, at least you didn't let her down. So that's the idea. And so the question is, what made you think that you were ready to get married? You are married now. So you should be able to answer that question the same way I answered it. Well, a little different probably. But why did you get married? All right. So you accepted that and went looking. Never. And Pam, what did you do? Just because he was of age? So again, you see, most of us, of ourselves, we were not ready. But I want to say this, praise God. Grace. Amen. Grace, thank God for that. It kept us. We loved him. He loved us. And he provided and protected us through this maze. Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, that's a good question. Remember I told you I didn't know either. So everything about ready has to do with the individual. I can't tell you if you're ready. What I do is, when I do premarital counseling, we go through the 12 lessons, and the question always comes up. I do it after every 4 lessons. Do you still want to marry this woman? In front of them, do you want to, after you've heard all that you've heard of these 4 lessons, do you still want to marry her? See, I'll give them a chance to think. And if he says yes, then I ask her, do you want to marry him? Still want to do it. After lesson number 8, I ask the same question. And after lesson 12, I ask the same question. Somebody ask a question? Yes. Is it serious? It's not a game. Oh, yes, I know. But guess what? It's better we do this now than have all this mess for the next 10 years. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mhm, mhm. Yes. Yes. Mhm, mhm. Exposure, yes. Right. That's the point. Exposure. Woo. And that's why I say I asked a question, because I'm saying I want us to think. Right. That's kind of hard. Yeah, because I am telling you, I don't lie to anybody. I am telling you, I did not know what I was doing. Everything was planned. I came. I am dead serious. I showed up for the wedding, for my wedding. No, I wasn't the first one either. And a pile of people were taking care of everything. And I did nothing. Absolutely nothing. I just show up for it. Seriously, I just showed up for the wedding. And I'm telling you, well, praise God, it's a long time, 43 years. I bless the Lord and I say thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Very good. Yes, yes. And I like that. You could answer it, we can answer it anyhow we want. But if the major part is when you were doing it, just before you did it. Now as you look back, you can look back and say, man, I know I wasn't ready. At the time you may say, think you big and bad, yeah, I'm ready for this. I'll do this, I know what I'm doing. But in truth and in fact, we really didn't. Now that we look back, we see I could have done this better. I could have waited a little longer. But because of where we are, we can say thank God. Because it's not an easy thing. It's a lot of work. Yes. Well, yes. I never had a thing for anybody. Because my intent was, I came from Trinidad, I came here to study. When I got in New York, my big thing was, I am going to study. That's all I'm going to do. Back home, one university, we couldn't get in. It was such a long wait list. Head to New York, got in right away, and I'm saying, I'm here to study. Run out of money. Run out of money, can't study no more. Find a job, getting $5 an hour. Now, I don't know if I married my wife because she was a nurse at the time, or maybe. Hey, there's nobody to report to. Hallelujah. So it's so important. I'm really, when you look at it in truth, those who are married, take a look. Take a look, take a look, take a look. And here's the thing, there is no put down. I want you to get this. There is no put down, because that's not what we are here for. If you were married and now you are divorced, did you learn anything? Have you ever looked back to see? Because one of the things when I do premarital counseling, I have a lesson in the premarital counseling booklet that talks about divorce is not the problem. It's not the problem. So therefore you look back at your exposure and determine, what happened? What didn't I do? Or what did I do? How was I thinking? What was my exposure? Because you don't want to make that mistake again, especially if a young person. You know, you don't want to make that mistake again. You want to live a better life tomorrow. So you want to look at your exposure and before, after, and now make a better decision. Now we could do it like what you said, because I was there before. Now I could look back from hindsight and see what happened, and now I can say, this isn't happening to me again. You know, I'm making a better choice now, because all of these choices are making me. And so I have to look at this a little better now and decide better. So this is so important, because a lot of times we don't think. We just do things, and I want us not to be able to just do things anymore. What? Yes. Are you all hearing? Okay, go ahead. Okay. Anybody? Yes.
Isn't that life though? We all do not have the same baggages. We all do not have the same experiences, the same educational level. That's where the commitment comes. My job is to pull you up, and hopefully your job is to pull me up. I've been all over the world. A lot of people haven't. I don't
Right.
expect my wife,
Exactly.
to have that same kind of experience. But she has other experiences that I do not have. And so as you work together to pull each other up, you don't even think that I have more than this other person.
Right.
You just think in this situation, like when we go to Europe to visit, I'm leaving back.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Except I took her to France and supposedly could speak patois.
Okay.
And we got there, and the little French I learned in high school, I had to use it to read the signs because nobody in France know patois. I put her to lead, and she couldn't,
Right.
So there's certain times where I don't even think if you're serious about somebody that it comes up in your mind who has more, who has less, any of that stuff. I don't even think that.
Very good. Anyone else? Yes.
Back in Jamaica, my father, back in Jamaica, I would come to say my father was a wealthy man back in Jamaica, but he died when I was small, at the age of 7. So I grew up with a lot of land around, you understand? Property.
Uh-huh.
The girls in my year and when I go after big and I say, I'm rich.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
My father, my mother, my father said, table for my mother. My mother said, table for my father. I hung to a good son of man. I get married when I was very young.
Okay.
After I married, my mother died shortly.
Uh-huh.
Then get 5 kids, then we end up in divorce. And my wife went away and she divorced me. She lives in New York.
Okay.
When I look back now, I get afraid of women. You know, when I go amongst old ladies, I try to find out some little secret.
Hold on. You say go among what kind of ladies?
Ladies,
Oh, I thought you say old ladies. Okay. I just wanted to know.
married and unmarried, and I search and I see them argument. I say, oh God, if I didn't know those things, no.
Uh-huh.
Then
Uh-huh.
I would think differently.
Okay.
Maybe I won't get married.
Okay. So you know a few things now.
Many things.
Many things now. And those many things keeping you from getting married?
When I look back, I can give you some example.
Okay, go ahead.
A lady would marry,
Uh-huh.
have them wife, have them husband,
Uh-huh.
have living a good life,
Uh-huh.
come home and sleep with me. And there's those things say, what you can give a woman to keep that woman you alone. You understand?
Okay. Uh-huh.
And some days when I invite them out and they come and when I question them. Something when I tell my husband, he said, what could I get honestly? All right, coming up here, back in Jamaica and call and I said, don't come back. Find out when I'm married. He said, no,
Why?
I would never come in this country and marry a woman to get my papers.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
And I would never do a business wedding.
Okay.
I'll say 2 things to my young people there.
Mm-hmm.
I say, make 2 commitments. One in a baptize,
Mm-hmm.
one in a marry.
Mm-hmm.
The pastor marry you, and the pastor baptize you. When you break the relationship with God and backslide, I try to look at not the pastor. The
Right.
pastor encourage you.
Mm-hmm.
When you marry, vows until the divorce part. If you divorce your wife, you have to make a commitment to God, not the pastor.
Right.
The pastor married you, and then the lawyer and the court will divide you.
All right. Okay, so in that sense, I want us to look at this. Whenever you are, as young people, get this too. Those who are married already, too bad for you. But young people, get this. Here's it. Whenever you make a decision to date someone, and you are looking, I want to answer your question. I remember you asked a question a while ago. I'm sorry, I didn't answer it yet. If anybody ever said no. I think that's what you asked? Yeah, okay, we'll answer that in a minute. Yeah, remind me to answer that. But, yeah, when you meet someone, one of the things I try to get young people to always remember is, if you see yourselves as serious with this person, you've got to ask yourself a question. And the question is he or she, to you, not to anybody else, but to you, chaseable to the grave? Chaseable to the grave. That may not be a word, but I'm using it. Chaseable to the grave. Yeah, it's forever, he said. But chaseable to, because that's what the Bible said. Till death do us part. And it's always about till death do us part. And remembering, it's not about till you kill me or I kill you. It's till the natural death do us part. Because some people think it's when I kill you, that's it. Yeah, but that's not what it is. Don't mess up the vows now. So always remember that. And when you look, here's the thing. Remember, all these beautiful feelings go away. These euphoric feelings go away after a while. You know why? When it comes down to it, it's work. I got to go to work, you got to go to work. We got to pay gas for the car. We got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do it. Then when we have kids, we got to take care of the kids. So all that euphoric feeling, don't let it fool you up front. It's good. Because it draws you to each other. It's very good. Nothing wrong with that. But that is not what should make the relationship last. Don't build it on that. You see, all those feelings that you have up front, it's called, we refer to them as romance. You're romancing me. You're taking me to the best places, the ambience and I mean, it looks good. And guess what? I feel good. It don't always last. As a matter of fact, it's not supposed to last. You're supposed to move from phase to phase to phase to phase in your relationship. Now, all of phases will have some of everything in it. But don't expect it to be like that. What is love based on? Love is not based on feelings. Love is based on character. Infatuation is based on feelings. What do you call it? Love at first sight? Infatuation. That's based on feelings. Because I have no idea who you are. Nothing about you, but I'm in love with you. That doesn't make no sense. Love is based on character. And we must always remember that. Now, you asked a question. Yes, go ahead. Uh-huh. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, that is a good question. In that, remember, we said exposure has to do with everything that you do in life. Every environment you find yourself in, you're exposed to something. And so you could be exposed to someone in the church, a relationship in the church. You could have gone to seminars. You could have gone on a job. You could have done like, as Brother Wallace said, you were in the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, whatever it is, and you see commitment, you see appreciation, you see all that kind of stuff. And you take all of that now and you inculcate it in your life. And that's who you are now because you are committed here in all these areas, in everything that you do, on your job and everything. You transfer that into your relationships. In other words, we're coming to that already, you become that. So in other words, if you become that, whatever area in your life you're dealing with, that's how you'll operate. Yes. Well, here's the thing with that. Many times, we are so much in love, we close our eyes to a lot of things. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened to them. I can't say that. But that's what happened a lot of times. We close our eyes to a lot of things that are not good. And once you start allowing things to happen, normally you don't want to stop it because you have invested so much. And that investment, you are thinking, no, I can't let this person go now because they won't get, and especially women do that. And that's something that the women need to pay attention to. Yeah. Again, that is exposure. He believes probably no woman should leave him. Or, how does the man put it? That's the point. That's exposure again. And that's how we start thinking. That's a terrible way to think. But that's why we say exposure is good or evil. Now, yes. Character, yes. Okay. Anybody want to talk before I make a comment? Come on, remember, there's questions and everything. It's time for us to talk. Yes. Uh-huh. Say it again. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. All right. So he says friendship is important. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's like saying, I hear a lot of people say, I'm looking for my Boaz. But the question comes back, are you Ruth? Yeah, that's the question. Are you Ruth? You see, while you are trying to find somebody, are you making yourself the kind of person that that person would want? Yeah. So let me give a comment on that, Ayana. What we have to always remember is I have to know me. If I don't understand me, I would accept anything. One of the things I tell my clients, especially premarital, I said, from the time you start dating, or even before you start, let me put it this way, set your boundaries. Now, don't make your boundaries of such that you want a man 6'5", and you're not going to move from 6'5". Because I tell some of them, and because some of them tell me that, I said, when I come back the next week, okay, what are some of the boundaries you have? And it's all physical. Most of it's all physical. And that's how we think. So when they tell me about the 6'5", and I tell them, well, you'll never want a man like me, I'm 5'8". You'll never want a man like me. Well, I say, well, I want somebody tall. And my thing to them is, okay, let's suppose you find a man, and I always give my height because I think I'm very high, I'm very tall. I say, if you find a man 5'8", and let me put the half in there, 5'8.5" for me. But if you find a man 5'8", and he's an awesome guy, treat you like a queen, would you be willing to go ahead and make the adjustment in that boundary of 6'5"? And a lot of them, it's hard for them to say, yeah. It's difficult for them to say yes. Yeah, they don't know themselves the way they ought to. Because you're going to give up a man who is awesome, treat you like a queen. He is a child of God. He's all it. And you're saying, no. Forget him. I want somebody who is 6'5". But no. That's the point. She ain't 6 feet. She's probably 4 something or 5. Yes, go ahead. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the point. Yeah, then everything. Right, yes. Right. 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 Okay. 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 Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And I agree with you 100%. But here's the thing. If I am that woman and I don't know that and you didn't tell me that, then you don't have that. Okay. Well, that's the problem. Not on your part, not on their part. Okay. Mm-hmm. That little box they have. Mm-hmm. That's the point I'm making. Yes. Very good. Very good. And that's important. I always tell them, if you don't tell the person what boundaries you have no boundaries. And I agree with you 100% because too often we are so stuck in what we are looking for. I was just talking to a client this week, and they went on to tell me they went on the Adventist website, okay? And they saw a young lady that looked nice, and they wanted to talk to her, and they started talking, and they said this woman enumerated some things that he said when he heard her and the things that she said she wants in a man, and she went down, and he said like she would never finish. And then he said to me on the phone, the other night, he said to me on the phone, she already got rid of me. That's what he said, she already got rid of me. I would never make it with her. And I said to him, yeah, probably you don't need to make it with her because you're going to live a miserable life. So those are the things, you are quite right with that. But one of the things we need to remember is always have a self-concept. In other words, my self-portrait, which is my self-exposure, my self-concept, gives me a picture of myself. So I understand who I am. We call it our self-concept. And what happens is this self-concept, self-portrait, will always determine how I respond to life. So it doesn't matter if it's a date, if it's a relationship, if it's marriage, the way I see myself and think about myself will always determine how I respond to anything in life. And that's why I want us to think. Look at what you're going through now. Think about your life, whether you're married or not. Think about the person, if you're not married, you're trying to date. Why? What about this person? You have to know, because this is until death do you part. You're not a game. I really want us to understand that. It tells you how your self-concept or self-portrait tells you how you treat people, how you choose a mate, the type of person you'll date. It tells you what you will accept. And what you talked about there, it tells you what you will accept. And that, as you put it in the box, it will destroy us because we don't understand ourselves the way we ought to. It will tell us about the relevance of God in our life. Our self-concept, the way we see ourselves, will tell us whether God is important or not. It will also tell us, even though I didn't have one, about our job or work, you know. It will tell us about that too. So here is something I want you to get. Like I said, I'm just skipping a lot of stuff because I know our time is going there. I have something called the law of exposure. Everything that we do, it seems to have a law. And so I have a law here. The law says what enters the mind repeatedly, occupies the mind, eventually shapes the mind, and ultimately expresses itself in what we do and who we become. Yes. What? Say it again. Uh-huh. Very good. Yes. Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Change is important in the fact that I have self-concept again. Okay, right, okay, good. Yeah, say it again. It has to be conscious. Yes. That's the point. Very good. Very good. And it's all about my self-concept, my self-portrait. Let me explain it to you this way. I had a client, came to the office. I didn't know what to do with her. You get sometimes people like that. And so the Lord led me to ask her to go home and write out her self-portrait. And I said, you know the picture you have up there? You look at it. I said, but many times that portrait ain't looking like where you look. Because we we had a picture of my wife. It's still there. And it's right at the front door. Awesome picture. Not a blemish. And we used to take the picture down and go hide it. And she'll come and say, who moved my picture? That's not you. But it's a portrait that she had done. I mean, if you see this thing, man, Lord help me. If you all ever saw that picture, I'd have been fighting all of you all for her. But beautiful. The photographer touched up whatever he had to touch up to make it as beautiful as that. And when we understand our self-portrait, God comes along and touches up the things that he needs to touch up to make us what we ought to be. It's the same thing. So I told her, go home and write out your self-portrait for me. Came back the next week, and she said, here is your copy and here's my copy. So we sat down to discuss it. And while we were before we started discussing, she said, I couldn't write this thing out until I took a picture of myself, put it in front of me, looked at it, and then I was able to start writing. Now, I asked her to write in 1 or 2 words, like ugly, beautiful, great, loving, just 1 or 2 words. Let me tell you something. When we started going through her portrait, this woman broke down the office. Never know or never understood that's who she was. And she wrote that out. Didn't cry when she wrote it out. But when she got to the office and we started going through it, it destroyed her. Couldn't believe the type of person she was. She wrote it out. And that's the thing I'm saying. When we have an understanding of who we are, that's where the changes come in. And we get that understanding, we realize this is not the person I want to be. I had another young lady call me on the phone, and I was dealing with her on the phone, and she was, the way she was, I just couldn't understand also. Because sometimes you're dealing with people and you just can't figure out what's going on. And the Spirit told me again, let her write her portrait out. So I told her, write your portrait out, email it to me. She emailed the portrait to me. And when I read the portrait, I understood why she was the way she was. Because here's what she was saying. She wanted to change. Here's what she was saying. Every man I meet, I have to have sex with them. Every man. And it doesn't matter how long. Could be a day or 2 days. Once we decide we're going to go, I end up having sex. Not even thinking. And she don't know why she does that. You know what I'm saying? Okay. We could be super spiritual to her until the Bible says, and the Bible says, it ain't going to help. Not going to help. So I didn't know what to do. The Spirit told me, let her write a portrait out. And when she wrote her portrait, I couldn't believe what she wrote. It was so graphic about herself. And then it showed exactly why she did what she did. So when we got on the phone to talk about it, yes, then she understood. And now she was willing to see what changes could I make now. Because she never saw it before. That's why when you come to a relationship, you ought to know what you're coming with. Another client did the same thing. I didn't know what happened to her. She had 2 kids. And she's still running with any and everybody. And when I asked her to write her portrait out, guess what? She wrote some stuff there that she was a hoe and that she was a this and she was, and you should see this thing she wrote. And we sat down for about 4 weeks and went through the whole thing. Tremendous change in her life. Then she realized what type of person she was. And now the change is. But if I don't understand what's going on in me, I would never be able to make the changes. So that's why it's important to understand, have your self-portrait or self-concept, understand who you are and why you are the way you are. Then we make the changes. And like you said, it's intentional. We must be intentional. Let me answer the gentleman's question here. He asked if anybody ever says no when I ask the question, do you still want to marry? After the eighth lesson, when I asked the question, he said yes, because I always ask the man first. You know, the head of the home. You're the priest in your home. That's what you're going to be. So I don't want you to tell me, well, it depends on what she says. I've had a lot of men who tell me that, well, I don't know what she's going to say. Well, don't tell me what she's going to say. I want to know what you are saying. This is the strangest thing. The women never, ever say that. Seriously. The men always, I'm not sure what she's going to say. I said, I don't care what she says. Tell me what you are thinking. He said yes. And she looked at me and said, he said yes. And from the time you hear that, you know something coming. So I simply said yes. He said yes. What about you? She said no. The way he treats me and what's happening now and what you are telling us here, I can't marry him. There's no way. I said, are you sure? No, I'm not going to marry him. Not under these conditions. And I said, okay, let's have prayer. Yes. It's over. Now, why am I going to try to force her to marry him? That was lesson 8. We still have 4 more lessons. And she said no. So here what I did, I said, let's have prayer. And when we had prayer, I said, if you all can work your stuff out, you all want counseling individually to take care of whatever it is, I'm here. I dismissed them. Yes. No. I'm glad they didn't do that to me. So mine will straighten you out. Oh, all right. But that couple, the thing about that couple is they have a big business together. Well-to-do business, young people. And she said no. When they left, I said to myself, this is trouble. Because this business, how are they going to work this business together now? You know, some people could do that. Yeah, some people do that. Well, guess what? 3 weeks later, I get a call from her. Yeah, 3 weeks later, she called me back. And she said, we have worked our situation out. Are you willing to continue with us? I said, praise the Lord. You all come on in. I don't want to know what the problem was. You all worked it out. Praise the Lord. And I did the finished the counseling, and they got married. And they're still going. Yes. Yes. I can't tell them don't get married. I could tell them, one of the things that I've done with a couple of them, I said, you know, you all want more counseling? You all need to deal with this? Let me tell you. At first, Missouri City, I was working there with Pastor Barrow one time, and this couple came in, and there was something was not right. You cannot be so good. No, you ain't that good. I don't care what you are and what you think you are. You're not that good. And the woman would always say, he's such a nice guy. And he sits there with his face. And I said to Pastor Vanderpool, something is wrong here. Yes, you got it right. Yes. Yes. And I'm looking at him, and every week it's the same thing about how nice he is. And he just sits there smiling, not even saying anything. It was 1 week before the wedding. And the woman, they came on Wednesday for counseling, premarital counseling. She called on Monday and said, please don't let him know that I called. Okay, what's going on? And she started to tell us how he would beat her and how he would do this to her and take the money and how he would. And we are saying, no wonder. So we said, okay, you all coming Wednesday? Yes. You're going to still come? Yes. I said, okay, good. We'll deal with him. Now, this guy, you see how big I am? This guy was tall, like 6-something, and big. When he stood up, you have to look up at him. Big guy. And when he talks, power. So now we said, so Pastor Pan, who was there, his Bible study. So we both sat down with him. I sat down with them. And she said, please do not let him know I said anything, because he's going to beat me. So we sat down with them, and we said to him, after we started the counseling, I said to him, I said, is there anything at all that you want to talk about that can cause a problem in this relationship after you all get married? I see, I ain't telling him not going to get married, no, after you get married. I'm going to put you at ease. So he said, well, really, nothing much. I said, so wait a minute. Tell me, what about anger? Do you get angry at all? And stay angry for any length of time? No, she told us that already. I'm like, I don't know. He said to us, well, yeah, sometimes, I get angry. I said, so you get angry. So when you get angry, what do you do? He never talked about hitting her. But he started talking about some of the things he would do. And we looked at him. As simple as those things he said, we looked at him and said, I know next week is supposed to be the wedding. But, no, we're going to ask her. So we said, no, we can't ask her, because we know what he does. So we turned back to him and said, well, would you mind putting the wedding off? We'll do it for you, but could you put it off? No, we're going to get married next week. We said, no, because we need to deal with the anger first. This guy was in a rage. He was in a rage. And we were so scared for her going home with him, because we told him we are not going to do the wedding until we counsel you. So they went home. We got a call from her. He broke the door down. When she locked him out, he broke it down. She had to call the police and all kind of stuff for him. That's the thing we are talking about. You got to be so careful. And you cannot allow things like that to keep you back, because what you think you're getting now, when you're married, is 10 times worse. Okay? So you have to be careful of that. All right? So let me give you 2 things and close up on this. Yes, you have a question? Oh, okay. 2 things quickly and close up. Remember we said it's about exposure. Well, if it's about exposure, then what type of person am I to be? We talk about being and doing. Which is more important? Now I'm going to make you vote. All those who say being. All those who say doing. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Somebody said both. All right. The more important one is being. Being is extremely, extremely important. Because remember, we're talking about exposure. When you are exposed, you become. No, here is this. When I am, or because I am, I will. Let me say it again, because I want to put one more word inside there. Because I am, I will automatically. But because I do, I don't automatically become. Very good. That's why being is so important. You automatically, for example, an apple tree automatically bears grapes. Apples. That's the point we are making. So I want to leave two things with you. One, because this is a big problem in relationships. Be someone who listens. Most of us don't listen. Most of us say, I know what you're going to say. You know, I had that problem when I just got married. I tell my wife, you understand that I know what you're going to say. That's total disrespect. Total disrespect. You don't do that. You don't know what I'm going to say. I have an opinion. I have some clients, awesome clients, well-to-do clients. And every time he talks, she tells me, just right in my office there. And she's saying, well, it doesn't make me sense I saying anything because he thinks he knows everything already, so it doesn't make it. And I said, no. I want to hear your opinion. And he would say, yes, go ahead and talk. But when he talks as though that's it. And she said, this is what I've been going through all the time. We don't like to listen. Somebody quickly, James chapter 1, verse 19. James chapter 1, verse 19. You have to read it for me. James 1:19. James 1:19. All right. So if you are swift or quick to hear or to listen, you will be slow to speak. You can't be quick to speak and quick to listen and quick to speak at the same time. You can't. And the reason why we get angry, Rob, so quickly is because we don't hear what the person is saying properly. So we look at the tone or we look at the word that they use. And all of a sudden, we're upset. Didn't even hear what they had to say. Proverbs, yes. Proverbs 18:13. Proverbs 18:13, yes. To speak. All right. Yeah. Proverbs 18:13. Somebody read it again. Oh, yeah. You answering, and I haven't even finished saying what I'm saying. The Bible is saying you're stupid. No. That's the words we use. We don't use those words, but that's the words we use. The Bible says folly to you. Don't answer before you hear. Now, I guarantee you, most of us have a little problem with that. Because we like to quick to speak. So when you listen, you hear two things. What are those two things? What are the two things? If I'm speaking to you, I'm your husband, you listening, or I'm your wife, you listening, what do you hear? Two things. One is what? Right, what the person is saying, and the emotions, how they're feeling. Which one do you address first? Let's take a vote again. All those who say you address the words, what you're hearing first. Hands up. All those who say your emotions, put a hand up. All right. Normally, on a normal condition, you address how the person is feeling. Why? Yes, how they're feeling. Yes. Why? But why you address how they're feeling first? Because what? To get to the good place to talk. Yeah. Very good. Because you are not listening. You don't hear a word I'm saying. Because you are annoyed, you are angry, you are upset. You can't really hear me. Right. Right. But some people don't always do that. Somebody get annoyed when they're speaking or they're talking back or whatever they're saying, and now you could do the reflective listening by asking. But some people, if I hear you, I remember one day, she may not remember it, Ayana may not remember it, but she came home and one day and I simply said to her, she said, "Hi, Dad." And she left, she just, "Hi, Dad," and she came and she walked went upstairs. On the way up to the stairs, I said, "Oh, whenever you want to talk, I'm down here. Because I heard something in her voice that didn't sound right. Within 10 minutes, she was back down to talk. I didn't address how she said, "Hi, Dad," and walked away. I just said, "If you want to talk, I'm here." Because I heard something in her voice. All right? So that's the first thing. Be someone who listens. And secondly, as I close here, I want you to remember this. Be someone who walks in the other person's shoes. We don't like that. You see, if I walk in your shoes, I have an idea what you're going through. So if you tell me 2 and 2 is 5, and I say 2 and 2 is 4, I need to try to determine how you got 5. Instead of saying, "Are you that dumb? You know, it has always been 4. Well, this is new math. And new math said 2 and 2 is 5. You know, I don't know. So my thing should always be able to walk in your shoes. Try to determine why you are behaving the way you are behaving, why you are saying the things that you are saying, why you are acting the way you are acting, instead of just trying to put you down. You see, when we do that, guess what we never do? We never give the silent treatment. Too many relationships suffer because of the silent treatment. And we are silent for a day, and sometimes for 2 days. And all we say the necessary things. Good morning. That's what we do. Silent treatment. Parent, children, parent, husband, wife, all that. Friends, we all. That's not the way to live your life. Because what you are doing will continue throughout your life. Close on this point now. I told a guy, premarital counseling, I like people to come a year before they get married. Why? Because you have a lot of adjustments to make. And change takes time. Change takes time. So I told the couples, hey, whatever adjustments you all need to make, you all need to make it just while we are doing the premarital counseling, and you have some time to make it after. This guy was a counselor, mental health counselor. His wife was a neurologist. Well, the woman was a neurologist. And they came in, and we started the counseling. And I tried to get them to, they were from another church, a Baptist church. Somebody sent them. And try to get them to understand, hey, you need to make some changes because what you're doing is not what you ought to be doing. Right now, always remember, whatever you're doing just before you get married, you'll continue to do it after. It doesn't automatically stop because you get married. So the day of the wedding, they asked me to marry them. I normally ask them, well, what about your pastor? This is a Baptist church. I'm coming into his church. They said, we already spoke to him, and he said, yes, you counselors, you need to come and do it. So I married them at the church, and that's, what was a Sunday, I think it was too. I noticed he wasn't as excited as he normally is. I never asked any questions, but a week or two after, he called me and wanted to know what to do. Whatever you're doing just before you get married, you'll continue to do it after. And he said to me, I got to talk to you about this. I need to see you. So he came to the office. These were his words. The bachelor party. We went to a strip club. I said, okay. He said I had sex that night with one of those women. Getting married the next day, had sex the night with somebody else. Didn't know what to do. Feeling lost. Had to talk to somebody. And that's why it's so important to understand you, your self-concept, your boundaries, the reason why you're doing what you're doing. realizing this is until death do us part. And as you begin a relationship, young people, you have to realize this is not just now. This is to take us all the way. And I want to say something that may be a little saddish, but I want you all to get it. The Barrow said, for better or for worse. And when you decide to get involved with a relationship that will take you from where you are all the way to marriage, you have to remember it's for better or for worse. Most of us want the for better. And we never, ever think about the for worse. And so we find ourselves in a dilemma when the for worse shows up. Because for worse always show up. Always, it may be for 5 minutes or a day. But for worse always show up. It's just life. So do not take it lightly what you're doing with your life. Don't throw it away. You could ask a lot of these folks in here who are married. You have them. Take examples. Get the exposure. Talk with them. That's one of the things we don't do a lot of with our older folks. I'm talking about the young people. You need to talk with them and find out how they're doing it, what is going on, how they're handling certain things. Brother, sisters, it ain't easy. But because you say for better, for worse, you made the commitments you made. You got to go through with it. Do not put yourself in a situation where you know you're not happy, but you decide to continue. In other words, don't hang out with a Mr. Charlie. You see, the woman said, when everybody asked her about this Mr. Charlie, he's always gone for 3 months, 6 months, then he comes back. She said, a piece of man is better than no man at all. Don't hold on to a Mr. Charlie. Don't work. Or Mrs. Charlie. It don't work. I pray, God, that the little we talked about today will help you to think. I didn't come to give you communication and all this. No, I just want you to think about what you're doing, because your exposure is what does the difference. It does the trick. It makes the difference. So may God bless you. May he cause his face to shine upon you, and may he give you peace.